everybody, and welcome to Create Your Best Life with Rex. I am your host, Rex Sykes, and I'm so thrilled that you're here, and I'm so thrilled to be here because of the guest that I have today. Fascinating, a giant in the industry of entertainment and so much more, and I'm going to bring him up in just a moment, but let me share a short biography with you of him. Michael Fomkin is an American entrepreneur, digital marketing expert, and I mean a digital marketing expert, a philanthropist, and a Broadway investor. He's best known as the co-founder of VIP Ignite Live and a co-author of Finding Fame, The Insider's Guide to the Entertainment Industry. I just started reading that just recently, and I'm loving the book, and you will too. Michael consistently hosts the largest events for aspiring musicians, artists, and producers. His notable achievements include investing and backing the 2013 Tony Award-winning play on Broadway, Vanya and Sonia, and Masha and Spike. Michael's been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, and the Huffington Post. And he recently won the 10X Award, the 10 times from Clickfunnels for earning over $32 million with one sales funnel. He's also co-written books with Tracy and Michael Gerber. And people sing his praises all around. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up Mr. Michael Fomkin. Hi there, Michael. How you doing?
Hey, Rex. How are you? It's so exciting to be here today. Thank you. This is definitely an honor to be here today. So excited.
Well, the honor is all mine. I'm thrilled to have you here. And I first came to know Michael through the Los Angeles Tribune, through one of the events that we were doing, and was just so impressed with what you offer and who you are, and getting to know who you are is amazing. So I'm so thrilled to have you here. And just so that the viewers know, they either watching live or they watch in replay. If they're live, they can ask questions and leave comments. And we've had some problems with the streaming, so sometimes I don't get to see where there are comments and stuff in order to put them up. So if I'm not finding them, I apologize. But you can ask questions and you can share comments. So Michael, we're now beginning 2025. And the year is just starting, and there's major fires in Hollywood, and there's stuff going on, and the industry is, in various flux here. Many of my friends have actually moved into Georgia to work in the TV film industry in Georgia. I just spoke with a friend the other day who I didn't realize she had relocated. She's, oh no, I'm here, come on down anytime. So can you clue us in? Can you kind of tell us from your vantage point, what can we expect to unfold in recent days? If you're an artist, a musician, a singer, a producer, an actor, model, an author, whatever, as the industry changes and as the actual landscape changes.
Well, first of all, the first thing I always tell people is you have to always accept that everything changes and everything comes to an end, right? You have to understand that. Now, with the TV and film industry, I see that in the next 24 months, there will actually be more opportunities in the next 2 years than there have been in the past 10 years combined. And the reason for that has a lot to do with the fact that the streaming networks, there's like such a demand for content right now. And yes, obviously there was, COVID, and then there was the writer strike and the actor strike, and now the fires. And there's delays in productions and so forth, but the industry is now shifting. The Atlanta market is so hot right now. There's so much shooting there in London. There's a lot of talk with studios. They've been looking for, making huge investments in New Jersey and Michigan and so forth. A lot of filming still in Miami. So the business will always adapt. The business will always survive. You're talking, it's a multi-trillion-dollar worldwide business. So like I said, in the next 2 years, there's going to be more opportunities than there have been in the past 10 years combined. So I'm looking forward to a lot of exciting new shows, a lot of exciting new movies that'll be coming out.
Well, that's encouraging, because I was told years ago, actually, that the number one export in the United States is entertainment. that the most of the, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you would think, well,
If you
it's
think about good times, bad times, the one thing that always grows is the entertainment industry. There's always, new content, there's new shows, there's, always looking for fresh faces, social media and, the internet has like just exploded the opportunities out there for people to break into this industry.
Is it as easy to break in just because of social media and the internet, or is
I
it
think social
more
media
normal?
gives a lot of, so there's two sides. There's the business side. So obviously social media from a business standpoint, being a studio, helps with distribution, with advertising, being able to really target your market down. From the actor side or the model side, you have a lot more information there at your fingertips that you can learn from. Like, a lot of times people will do something as simple as like a Google search and, how to become an actor, local acting auditions. It's like there's a saying, ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. So if you know how to use social media right, it's like, this is what I tell people. If you're an actor, the first thing you should do is go to Internet Movie Database, log on, set up an account. Now you can find all the movies that are in pre-production. So movies that may have not even started the casting process. You can get a list. Who's the director? Who's the producer? Who's the assistant director? Who is the casting director? Go on social media and start following those people, right? Start engaging. Don't reach out to them and say, hey, I'm an actor, pick me for your next movie. They're going to ignore you. They're actually may write your name down and never work with you again because you just went about the wrong way. You annoyed them. But at least start following the right people who are actually working in the industry versus trying to shortcut it and just doing a Google search where next thing you know, you're investing thousands of dollars in classes or photos that you don't even know the right photos to get. You don't even know the right classes to take. You're going to be more of a dramatic actor. You're going to be more theater. Are you going to be a commercial print model, a high fashion model? Are you more plus size? In today's industry, it's all about what makes you unique. And so many people start off always asking the wrong questions. They always say, well, how do I find an agent? And I always say, reverse the question. And I say, how do you become the person an agency actually wants to work with? Because when you look at it that way, now all of a sudden you ask a better question. Now you can go out and start researching that, seeing, hey, what are my top 10 favorite actors? What are the actors I could relate to that I could see I could have done those roles? What models could I relate to? People always, people who are new to the industry, they'll always, name off supermodels from the 80s, right? Everybody knows Tyson Beckford and Cindy Crawford. I'm like, oh my goodness, those models are like turning 60. Who are the like fresh faces, right? That are assigned at these agencies. Research the campaigns, research the advertising agencies, because then you can start building a path and you can start creating a framework, right? Where did these people study? Did they go to Juilliard? Did they go to Yale School of Drama? That's great. They invested a lot of money. Maybe you don't have the finances to invest $60,000 a year. But who are their agents? Who are their managers? What other people are on those rosters? Like the answers are there. And, something that would, before the internet would have taken you 10 years to figure out, you can literally figure out within an hour and put together a path, right? You can use AI. People, the acting, AI is going to destroy the industry. Not really. AI is here to stay, but use AI to say, hey, here's some research I did. Help me formulate a plan. Be my manager for the moment, right? Think of like there's all these things you can do, but it's for most people, it's like just being able to be a little bit more creative. But you want to be in a creative industry. So guess what? You need to start getting those creative juices going.
God, it's such a great, it's such wonderful advice.
We just started. Wait, these are the appetizers.
What I'll do is I'll ask a short question and shut up because you got so much here.
I love talking to you because you have an acting background. Like you've been doing this your whole life. So it's awesome because I enjoy speaking into your listen and seeing you say, wow, I love that. So again, so excited to be here.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. When I was coming up, we would go to Schwab's in Hollywood. We'd sit with all the other celebrities or unknown actors, and the tourists would come in. But we would get the trades. And on Thursdays was the production would come out on the Reporter and the Variety, but you had to pay 50 cents or eventually $1 or whatever it was every day to get the trades. Now it's all in one place. I mean, it really is amazing that, IMDb and IMDb Pro, is a tremendous resource for the actor who wants to be a professional actor. What I love that you really said too is, how do you get an agent to want you? I mean, as opposed to, I see so many actors and so many writers run up to somebody with a screenplay or a photo and go, "Here's my thing," which all that means is they have to carry it around. It's a completely different experience if a director, producer, casting director, someone says, "Can I have your photo? Do you have a screenplay that I could read?" That's such an important point for most people, because they usually do exactly the opposite. As you said, they stalk people and try and get them to like them.
So here's the issue. So like writing a screenplay, the issue is there's a lot of red tape. It's kind of like the music industry. I like to tell a story about a screenwriter who's working at that local coffee shop, and he's written this really great screenplay, and all of a sudden one day Steven Spielberg walks in, and he's like so excited that he runs over and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a screenwriter, and I want to give you my script." And Steven Spielberg's like just sitting there drinking his coffee, and he's like, "Well, I'm not interested." He's like, "No, but you really need to take a look at it." And he's like, "No, thank you. I'm just not interested." And then he walks away grumbling under his breath what a terrible person Steven Spielberg is, because he wouldn't look at his script. Well, when you think about it from a legal standpoint, that may be a wonderful script, right? But legally, could he really look at it? Like, is it copyrighted, right? Maybe there's something there. He reads in it. He doesn't think anything of it. And then somehow, 3 months later, he's, working on a new screenplay himself. And just all of a sudden that idea pops in his head, and it's from his subconscious. And now all of a sudden that movie comes out, it's a blockbuster. And next thing you know, you're getting sued because this guy says, "Well, he stole my screenplay. I gave it to him in a coffee shop," and so forth. And even if Steven Spielberg looks at it and says, "Well, it's good, keep working on it," the person's going to be like, "Oh, well, but I want to be discovered," right? And even Steven Spielberg says he loves it. Go for it. I'm not interested, but you should go for it. I think it's a great script. He's still going to be upset. So there's this issue that no matter what you do with somebody who's like working outside of the industry and they're looking in still, they get upset at you no matter what answer you give them, unless it's the answer they want. So what winds up happening is you kind of put this wall up in front of yourself, and you just want to work with people you're comfortable with, right? Think about Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. Think about like all these great directors and producers. Like I have a lot of friends that are phenomenal producers. They made movies such as the X-Men and Transformers and and so forth and so on. And what I notice about all of them is they kind of, when they hit it big, they had this core team of writers and directors and cinematographers and music composers, and they will use them and work with them for decades, because they know they found that winning team. When you're on the outside trying to get in, saying "pick me" is just not the right way. Like, you have to bring value, right? Like, you can be sitting down with a billionaire. Most people, they meet a billionaire, they start talking about their problems. "Hey, can you help me?" Right? It's always about me, me, me. You have to reverse it. You have to say, what value can I bring? Right? If you're an up and coming actor, are you working in local community theater? If you didn't get the role, offer, "Hey, I'll come in and I'll be an usher. Like, I'll come in and I'll sweep. I'll do whatever it takes." Right? You hear the story so many times of these actors, like, follow their stories, follow their journeys. Like, what was that one moment where their life changed, and like, see how it can apply to yourself. Like, you have to, I hate to say you have to pay your dues, but you really do. Are you investing in the right classes? Do you have the right coaches? Do you have the right headshots? Do you know if you're more geared towards LA, the New York market? Are you more dramatic? Are you leaning into that commercial, playing the villain consistently, playing that, shot out drunk, right? A lot of times I talk to, a lot of, up and coming actors, and, they want to play this leading role. And I'm like, well, listen, you can play a leading role at some point, but right now you kind of look like the homeless guy. Lean into that in your headshots. And you know what? Like, literally, when they do that, all of a sudden they start getting bookings, because when they log into breakdown service as a casting director, for those of you not familiar with breakdown services, any type of legitimate SAG-AFTRA projects are listed in breakdown services. So if you're on the internet trying to, you see an ad to be in the next, major blockbuster movie. That's not real, right? Those types of positions are not posted online because, major productions or even smaller budget films, $2 million and above, they're working with SAG-AFTRA union rates. They're working with the unions. So those types of jobs are not like available to people. You have to like earn your way into the union. You have to go out there. You have to take the right classes. You have to take the right headshots. You have to, get into the right rooms. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but it's something. Time will go by no matter what, right? It's just like anything else. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. You have to like realize that time is your most valuable asset that you have. It's not money. Money can be replenished, but time can't be. So you have to maximize your time. It's like I said, the first step I tell people when somebody's brand new is start following real people in the industry. See, a lot of times you'll see projects posted. See what you can bring to, the table. Anything, just, offer to become a production assistant just to get on set, consistently keep knocking on doors. It's an industry where everyone was given a chance. The most famous actors, the most famous models, the person who won the most Academy Awards, they all began the same way you did. Nobody came into this world, a star. They had to work their way into the industry. Yes, some people got a little bit quicker, right? That's just the luck of the draw. But if you consistently follow a proven process, you follow a proven framework. The reason we wrote the book, Finding Fame, and it became an international #1 bestseller in arts and entertainment was because we wanted to show people, hey, we sat down and we interviewed 35 of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry. And we said, just give us the juice, give us the steps, give us the things that got you from where you are to where you want it to be and beyond, and what you've seen in people that got you to want to work with them. And it was consistent across the board. It was always the value they brought to the project, the value they brought to the set. I can tell you so many times when you want to work in an independent film, being able to have the opportunity to be able to
And Michael, your camera went out.
Oh, my camera went out. Hold on. I was on a roll there for a second. Let me see what happened here. Hold on.
You were on a roll. That was fantastic.
All right. So I plugged it back in. Let's see if I can choose a different. How do I choose a different camera on here? Here we go. Settings. Camera.
So that was pure gold.
I don't know why that's doing that.
That was pure gold. So, while we wait for Michael, I'm going to share something, and if Michael can hear me, then he can comment. But when I was a young actor, I got very frustrated with stagnant career, and so I started to get kind of angry and hostile, and I walked around kind of as an angry, hostile actor, brooding, thinking I was like Marlon Brando or James Dean. I told George Lucas to his face he was full of crap when he was, casting Star Wars, and he called me in to interview me. And my acting coach at the time said, you and another actor are the two like bad boys of Hollywood. People aren't going to like you. And I'm like, so who cares? Well, it took me a long time to learn just what Michael said. You have to add value. Plus, you have to be a good person. You have to be a nice person. I found that, you win more bears with honey than you do with vinegar. So now it says that Michael needs to connect his microphone and his camera. I don't know where Michael is before I can add him back to the stream. I didn't take him off the stream. So, Michael, if you can hear me. But at any rate, so the point was that I have an analogy, and that is, imagine that you're going camping and you've got a number of spots that are available, friends that you could bring along, say a dozen. Who would you bring? Would you bring somebody who's a whiner, a complainer, a blamer, somebody who's hostile, who's angry, who's brooding? Or would you bring somebody who's helpful and cheerful and upbeat and positive and who adds to the enjoyment of the experience? Well, that's what being on a movie set is like. People want people who work together as a team, pull their own weight, who don't grumble, and who add value, who can problem solve if they need to, but they are there. Their presence is important in that it helps. It's the rising tide floats the whole boat. So if you're the kind of person who's a team player, here's the other thing. Most actors, myself included at the time, would look at a script, say I had a scene, one scene or 5 scenes, but I go, this is my chance. I could be discovered here. And so I made everything about me, as opposed to what part in this process do I play as an actor? Sometimes you're just there to, in television particularly, you're just there to further the information for the leads. You're the guy going, they went that way, and then the leads go, okay, we'll take it from here. So you're not the focal point. You're a cog in the wheel, and if you know your place and you do your place well, then you can. Here we go. Then you can. There you are. Then you're back.
This is the excitement of doing something live.
Yeah, it's the old thing. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. But we're here, and I'm glad you're back.
All right. My sound still good?
You sound great.
All right, good.
So I was just sharing a little bit based on what you had said about adding value and about just from my experience and about being a team player and knowing that you're a cog in a system and being part that adds value to everything. I wanted to add one other thing, and that is a lot of people, when I was a young actor, I wanted somebody to tell me, you're an idiot and you shouldn't be doing that, and here's what you should be doing. And while I had people like that, I didn't really listen to them very well. I had to grow into listening to them. So one of the things that happens in Hollywood is people get a meeting with somebody who's important. Like I get a meeting with you, right? And you go, Rex, I think your script needs this. And those are my notes. And I think if you do that, it'll be better. And I say, okay, thank you very much. I recently had somebody who did that. And they had a meeting with a big producer. And the producer said, oh, I liked it, but I think it would be better if you did that. So when it was all said and done, I said, did you make the changes that the person wanted? And she said, no. And I said, why not? And they gave all this reason. I said, did you get back to them? And they said, no. And I said, well, so you've just become one of the 99% of Hollywood who listens to somebody and then doesn't do anything they say. You take their time, if nothing else, you could have made the notes. The person could have said, hey, I've done it. Would you like to see it? And if they said yes, they could go, no, that doesn't work, or it sucks, or it's brilliant, or it's wonderful. But at least they know that you take action and that you took their input seriously, as opposed to just saying, well, thank you very much. That's wonderful. And then doing nothing with it, which is what so many people do.
That's interesting. I have, she's a really good friend of mine for 18 years. She's a major casting director. She's done, major shows from Netflix and major networks. She works with a lot of A-list actors. And the one thing that she's always said is usually when she meets somebody the first time that has potential, she will always give them some direction on things that they can do to improve or little tweaks. And then she'll always schedule something like, 3 months out to meet with them again. So she doesn't give them the instant gratification. She just gives them some direction. And her number one thing on moving forward with somebody is to see within those 90 days, did they take the directions and go with it? And she said it's like one of her secrets to her sauce on being an agent manager for that. So it's so interesting that you said that, because I've seen that so many times where people will give, we have a very successful model who, when she came out, we introduced her to some agents in LA, and, she's a great looking girl, but they gave her some little tweaks and stuff like that. And she literally, she literally had an asthma attack because she just got so into her head about it. But she wind up following along the directions and so forth. And it took her about 2 years, but she wind up getting signed. Like so many other people would have given up, but she put the 2 years in, and now she's signed, full-time working model. She's she just got married and so forth. Had another gentleman in New York. He started off in the modeling industry, wind up kind of I had some opportunities to do some background work on the television show Boardwalk Empire, and which, if you're not, for those you're not familiar with background work, it's kind of like, think of Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man's swinging over the crowd, everybody's running and screaming. You're one of the people running and screaming in the scene. But he wound up becoming friends with the cinematographer, and he was just, kind of being curious and asking some questions. And for whatever reason, the person kind of took a liking to him, and felt he could mentor him. He wind up he now works like full time as a cinematographer. Like, he's done like dozens of shows and movies and so forth. Just bought himself a house. He's married. He's second child on the way. And it's so interesting because there's so many ways into this industry, and you just kind of don't always know where the path will take you. But when you're with the right people, you're working on sets, you can get that foot in the door. Like, your life can change so rapidly in ways you can't even ever possibly imagine. But it's just having patience. It's being able to look past your fear, being able to take action to move towards mastery, right? Because until, like, people, so many times they live in fear. I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm that, whatever it may be. But it's like you have to take action, and you have to just practice that craft, because when you practice something, you build confidence. When you build confidence, you start becoming mastered. You start mastering it, and that's when you're able to bring like value. But when somebody's like brand new, it's like day one, and they're so excited to be on set. It's hard because you're competing against people who've been doing this for years and for months. And then right away, people hear that, the little thing in their head goes off. Oh, I'm not, I don't, that's so long, right? But again, like I was stating earlier, time is going to pass by no matter what. You have to maximize each and every day. Doesn't mean you quit your job and move to LA, but it means, like, what can you do? It doesn't matter what market you're in, right? Because the industry's changed so much now. 98% of our auditions are done on Zoom. Most of our casting directors will talk to people on Zoom prior to hiring them, and then maybe that final audition, they'll fly out, 2 or 3 people to LA or to New York or Atlanta or wherever. But it's like understanding the process, understanding the framework, and being able to speak into a casting director's listen. Like, a casting director's listen is a lot different than a producer, is a lot different than a director. That's why I tell people, like, get yourself on set, get yourself into community theater, get yourself around people. There's so many times, like, great community theaters, they'll have, like, fairly, rock star actors, male and female, who will, do a show for a few months, even in a smaller area or a smaller city. And, you get to spend time with them. You get to hear the stories. You get to, one of my good friends, his name's Dan Loria. He was the dad on the Wonder Years. He was just in the movie Reagan. Like, he's been in this industry like 50 plus years. Like, one of his mentors was Marlon Brando. Like, so imagine, we're sitting in Sardi's just like, I think about 6-7 weeks ago. We're sitting in Sardi's, and he's just telling these stories about being on set with Marlon Brando. Like, that to me was better than a 4-year education at Yale School of Drama. Like, that's why it's so important. Just surround yourself with people with results. Surround yourself, even if it starts off in community theater, even if it starts reaching out to local advertising agencies. I tell people all the time, you can create so much on social media. Find a local restaurant, say, hey, I'd love to, be in a shoot. If you're doing like some ads for, you see the companies in your area that are running ads, even if they're like money mailer flyers or they're local commercials. Find the advertising agency that produced those. Reach out to the restaurant. Next time you do, I'm a big fan of your restaurant. I eat there all the time. I'd love to be in an ad. Like, it's just putting in that little bit of extra work. But even a story like that, hey, I reached out to the local pizzeria, and then I found the advertising agency. I was a big fan. Next thing I know, when they shot another commercial, I was in it. From a casting director standpoint, I probably would give you a shot now. Because, like, you got some chutzpah to you, right? You made something work. That's a person who I want to have on set versus the person who just came in and said, pick me, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about storytelling. Understand what the hero's journey is. Understand all of that. Understand where you fit into the industry. Like, you should know sizes. You should know, standards for, commercial print, high fashion. So many times talent comes in, I want to be a high fashion model. Do you know the size requirements for high fashion? No, but I want to be one. Okay, great. I want to be an astronaut, but I don't know how to fly a spaceship. Like, it's probably not going to work out for me.
I love it. But I divide my time between the Midwest and Los Angeles. And if I were in Los Angeles full time when I was there, I would definitely be an extra. I dated an extra when I was a young actor in my 20s. She was an extra on a TV series. She worked every week, made tons of money. This is when there was the Extras Guild, Screen Extras Guild versus the Screen Actors Guild. And at that time, as actors in the Screen Actors Guild, we were told, oh, you never want to do extra work. It's beneath you. You go to New York, they go, do you do extra work? You go to LA, they go, extra work. We don't do that here. But she worked all the time. She bought like Arabian horses with her money that she got from being an extra. Oh, yeah. But not only that, but she was on the set constantly with stars and co-stars and recurring people and everything. And so I would definitely be an extra. It's different today, but you go, you take a sandwich and a book or whatever, you sit there and you don't make waves, but you get to be on the set. You get to learn who's doing what. The other thing that you said that's important, I think really important, that a lot of actors don't understand, because I've had producers and directors go to bat for me with another director or producer, say, you should hire Rex for this role. And sometimes they've taken their word, and sometimes they said, yes, thank you very much, but they don't do it. But if I get a casting director putting me up to a director or a producer, their ass is on the line. And if I can't deliver, if I can't do what they have claimed that I could do or why people should see me, then they don't look good. So my role as an actor, I always think, is to make the people who promote me look incredible by doing the best that I can do and not trying to make it about me, but to understand that this person put their butt on the line, and I owe it to them to deliver. I still may not get it, but
that's so interesting, because a lot of times I will recommend actors and models, especially in smaller markets, like they all want to like somehow associate with like the 800-pound gorilla in their market, right? Everybody wants to be with the Ford, the Wilhelmina, the Click, the DNA. I tell people, you know what? You're going to get, even if you had the chance to get signed, most likely you're going to get lost in the crowd. Find a smaller agency, find a boutique agency, somebody with a smaller roster, and have that person who believes in you and will fight for you to get the job, right? Because at the end, you think about this. Agents make, between 10 and 20% commission, right? So that's how an agency makes money. They get commission. They don't charge you for classes. They don't charge you for photos. Anybody who's doing that, run the other way as fast as your little feet can carry you. But that means if they're getting 10 or 20%, that means you're doing 80% of the work. And when you think about it, it's like, if you don't show up, you show up late, it's not only did you damage your career, but you damage that agency's career. And even worse than that, not only did you damage your career, the agency's career, but the person who believed in you's career, but then they may lose that client. And now that means in the future, people who didn't even get a chance to start in the industry, that could have been their one big break. Now you broke that relationship. That's what you have to realize. Like, again, you have to see it from the agent side. Like, what can I do? How can I become that person an agency wants to work with? A lot of times people who are brand new, they're so confused about that. Somebody told them that they're really good looking, or, oh my God, you should be an actor. And I'll sit down and say, do you know the Meisner technique? What's that? Or, like, I'll just ask basic question. Like, you need to know this industry. Like, your agent, your manager, that's not their job to teach you the industry. Agencies want to hire models, right? Managers and agents want actors. Are you an actor yet? Are you a model yet? Right? It's like the chicken, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? People always say, well, how do I get a start? You start. You just do it, right? You go out, community theater, local commercials, find an agent that's a smaller boutique agency that can believe in you, but you have to have something you bring to the table. If you're just walking in cold with nothing, it's like one of my agents, he always says, like, this industry is like lions and gazelles. And if you don't understand the dynamics, you're the gazelle, right? So you ever heard, like, when you play poker, right? You should know who the fish is at the table, right? Who the fish being the person who can will lose all their money. Well, if you don't know who the fish is at a poker table, guess what? You're the fish. That means when you're walking into these agencies, you're walking into these places, the reason people get taken advantage of and wind up spending money that was needlessly spent on poor quality photos, poor quality headshots, poor quality training, is because they believe the hype. I'm going to turn you into a star. I'm going to make you famous. They believe that. I get it. It's their significance. They feels good to hear that, right? Yeah, I'm going to prove to the world. But because you weren't knowledgeable, you were the gazelle and the lion ate you, right? I don't feel bad when people come and tell me, but Mike, I spent, $10,000. I went to this big event. And there were 100 agents there, and everything seemed kind of weird, and nobody was interested in me. The one person who was tried to sell me more classes, and they're like, they're crying to me. I'm like, I don't feel bad for you. Like you were the gazelle. You got eaten by the lion. But you know what? Instead of crying about it, you learn now what not to do. Look at it that lean into it to learn what not to do. There are going to be times you can land a major role and you don't even make it to the final cut. You're edited out, but at least you were there. You were on set. You were there. There are going to be people, they do chemistry tests to see how people will get along. You can be a lead role and you have the romantic, female lead. The two of you guys just may not click. But you know what? When the cameras are rolling, you need to be in love with her. Like that's acting. Acting is being able to bring your experiences, the words to life. And they're not the words that you wrote. They're somebody else's words that you have to bring to light. You need to have the appreciation, the understanding to do that. It's the same thing for modeling. Stepping in front of the camera, it's not about you. It's about the clothing. It's about the product. There's a reason models and actors get paid, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they're showing up and they're getting the job done the right way. And if this is the industry you want to be in, absolutely it can be done. 1,000,000% it can be done. It's been proven over and over again. But again, you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to realize, like, you're in the presentation business, right? You're making presentations, consistently. You're walking into a room, you have to have that air of confidence. You have to kind of know, what to wear, what to say. There's so much to it. I've seen actors like blow deals where they're waiting online and they're just making comments to each other. And then the casting director, the vice president of Warner Brothers Casting, if you ever met him, he kind of looks like John Lennon. He's got a bald head. He wears little John Lennon glasses. He's got a goatee. He just wears like a t-shirt and jeans. And he'll tell me so many times he'll walk in, nobody realizes who he is, but he's hearing all these actors waiting to meet with him, and they're complaining. They're being all negative. So before they even got in the room, they've already lost the role. I tell people all the time, it's like you said earlier, just show up with a book. Right? I don't care what you have to say. I don't care. Hey, I'm here to audition. I'm here to work. I appreciate the conversation, but you know what? I just want to sit here and read. Like we've had people show up on set, doing some big TV shows in New York. one of the very first bookings we ever did, and he was brand new to the industry, but they loved him. He shows up on set. He's there for like 3-4 hours. His dad drove him. He was like 19 years old. His dad drove him to New York. And, they were setting the scenes up and so forth. So his dad calls him, texts him. He's like, hey, I'm getting lunch. Do you want to come with me? So he walks off of set. He literally walked off of set, not realizing, like, holy cow. And of course, the moment he walked off of set was the moment they turned and called his name. Oh my goodness. Did we get a conversation from the casting director about that one? So it's like, again, it's like having that appreciation, like, people in casting and in this business work really hard to build their reputations up, to get projects done. There are times you could be on set, you could be in a dance scene and they start filming at 8 o'clock in the morning. The director's not happy with it. It's 12 hours later and you're still like filming. The same enthusiasm and energy you had, you have to have at 8 o'clock at night. Like, there is no, my feet hurt, I want to go home, complaining. Like, there's none of that. You have to have the love for it. And I think a lot of people, they see the glitz and the glamour side, but they don't see the hard work. And, a lot of times people see the praise these people get in public, but they don't realize the hard work you do in private, right? Like, think about like actors when they have to get in shape for a movie. They're, months in advance, or they're training for fight scenes or combat scenes. Like, everyone wants to be in a Marvel. Like, you have to be on your A game, right? You have to be, the most fit that you could ever be in your life. You're doing training months in advance. There's like, and yes, there's a pay scale to that, but it's that pay scale may not come till after that movie's filmed, or depending upon how the negotiations are. So there's so many moving parts. I love it. I get excited about it. Like, I love being on set. I love being in the reading rooms. I love rehearsals. I love all of that. But I've been doing it for 18 years. When somebody's brand new, sometimes maybe it's overwhelming.
Wow, you have just spoken so much gold and so much. I do a podcast too called Sorry about
It's all
that.
right. I love puppies.
Yeah, no, and they're great. They're awesome. Called Rex Sikes Movie Beat, and it's the tagline is what to do and what not to do in the movie business, while navigating a career. And what you just said, so many people, Sasha, please. What so many people don't understand, you're judged by your work, by whether you are professional or not professional. Whether you growing up in Los Angeles, traffic is not an excuse. Hey, Sash, thank you. Growing up in Los Angeles, traffic is not an excuse. They don't care. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a second. And if you show up late or you trip over your cables or you don't know where your light is or you don't know your lines or any of the things or you don't or you leave the set without telling anyone where you're going, those are all things that can hurt you, not just in that moment, but as big as the industry is, it's also very small. And word can go around pretty quickly if you're hard to work with, if you don't know what you're doing, in the same way that if you're getting heat and you're getting buzz, it gets caught up around. I always tell people, look at IMDb and look at how people go from a non-speaking role, an extra role, a background role to getting a line or two to a feature role. Sasha.
Principal background and so forth.
And the reason for that is one of the things that I discovered is if you're working with a star, you get a scene with a star, whether it's TV or movies, they want to know that you're not going to be starstruck and screw up and fawn over them. That's why you hear about these actors who go, don't make eye contact. They tell them, don't make eye contact with a star when you're not in the scene. I mean, because they don't, people have to be, you have to understand the industry and who you're working with, and you have to, and you have to have, it's a meritocracy. So if you don't have the merit, they're not going to give you that role most likely. But if you got the chops and you demonstrate your value and I love everything that you're saying because it's so true. It's so important for people to know.
Yeah, we tell our people, when you're on set, respect everyone's boundaries, especially like whoever the lead roles are. And we found when you respect their boundaries and you're not acting like a fan, you're just there, doing your job. So even if you're the smallest scene in the room, you're the bartender, you're the waitress, the person, the lead person, 99.9% of the time, like as they're wrapping for the day, will always say, oh, what a great job. Who wants to do some photos and so forth? Like there's a time and place for that. Versus when, a recognizable, person comes onto set and somebody's trying to like, oh, can I just get a selfie with you or something, which is why they take the cameras away now because, especially for actors, they'll tell you to take creeper shots. People will ruin, if you're filming, when you're filming a show, the ending of a series or the final episode, those are shot months in advance before they're airing, right? You're under like non-disclosure agreements not to release what happened in the scene and so forth. People always dying to know, what happened. So what was it like and so forth. So, I find people in the industry are so wonderful to work with, so professional. And that's why at the end of the day, it goes back to always being professional, being reliable, being dedicated, showing up on time, being willing to stay late. Like I tell people, how long do you think I'll be on set for? You're on set until the director says, final cut. Like it's whenever the day ends. We had a filming one time. It was in New York Harbor, and the waters were a little bit rough. And the director was like, he was challenging the universe. We are not getting off this boat until this scene is shot. And like literally it was to the point where some of the extras were like throwing up on the side of the boat. The water was that rough. And I was like, hey, that's a terrible story. But you know what? They wind up not getting the shot. And then half of them didn't want to go back the next day. So we were like scrambling to get like some last minute replacements and so forth. But there are just days like, imagine you finished the scene. Imagine you went back and you did it. It's such a better story than I got seasick and I quit. And that was the end of my industry. And the director was a very, 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 very famous director, but like probably like top 4 multi-billion-dollar film type of level director. So I think you're on mute, Rex.
Thank you for that. All of this is gold. And I'll share a little bit of story. I'll even name drop, and I don't really mean to, but I was friends with Kirk Douglas and his sons, and a woman friend was as well. And we were on the set of The Money Changer. She was 18 or 19. I was 18 or 19 at the time. And she'd run around going, Daddy Kirk, Daddy Kirk, Daddy Kirk, this and the other thing. But when he was taking a scene, she was standing up the opposite side of the set, but she was bouncing around and doing everything. And he just, at one moment, stopped and said, would you get her out of my eye line? And this is a family friend. And he's like, get her out of my eye line. Because what she was doing was distracting the actor. And I don't think she intended to, but unbeknownst to her, she was making a mess of things.
Yeah. Listen, people, different things affect different people different ways. You gotta roll with it. Some people communicate very well. Some people don't. And I tell people all the time, when you're on set, it's like soup. There's going to be different personalities, different textures, different ways people respond to things. You're there to do your job. You roll with it. You leave your ego at the door. You leave your personal preferences at the door, and you're there to listen to the director, whoever's signing you in, whatever directions they're giving you. There's no. I think my acting coach said I should do it this way. No, please don't say that. It's however. If you did your scene study, you did your character utilization, you understood the backstory. You go with how you interpreted the writer wanted that character to come to life. And if you have a question, you ask the director, right? Just on the line. And people are there, they all want to see the project successful. There is no well, I think this way. It's like, hey, what do you think, right? When you present yourself in a better light, and everyone understands, you may be brand new, right? I get it. Somebody may have been doing this for 20 years, and they have a technique, right? It's like working with Martin Scorsese. He loves improv. We have a lot of our people that we work with have worked with him many times. We've been on The Sopranos and different movies of his, and he just loves improv. He trusts that set group, that De Niro, to be able to roll with the scene. May not have been the exact words the writer put down, but he will still keep those cameras rolling. That's what you want to shoot for, to be able to get that craft of mastery of that level, to be in a room with the Scorsese, to be in a room with people like that. But that journey starts with getting the right education, the right foundation, and so forth. And it's, again, putting the time and the effort into it. And it goes by a lot faster. We all know time goes by a lot faster than you realize when you're focusing and you're keeping busy and you're saying, what can I do better next, right? Even having access to somebody like yourself, you have decades of experience. You understand this industry from so many different ways, not only as a professional union actor, but as a writer, a screenplay, all of these different things. So there's so much opportunity out there to meet the right person. And even I'm sure people reached out to you and they asked you a question, you would be happy to answer their question. You may not be able to have a 3-day conversation with them, right? But at least, and I tell people all the time too, when you meet somebody, ask them a question that inspires them. I tell people all the time, what project are you working on right now that excites you the most, right? Get them to talk about something or learn a little bit about the person, see a charity they're involved with, things like that, things that may mean something to them, not just about the roles they played, right? I see so many times, oh, I loved you in that movie and so forth. And yes, it's a compliment. It's nice. And they smile. But if you want to engage in conversation, learn the art of being able to communicate with others, being able to ask the right questions, to be able to get them to want to speak with you, and building a relationship and actually care. Because so many times in this industry, I'm sure as you're familiar with, people will try, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. But there are people who come into your life sometime because they're just trying to take from you. And it's easy to spot those, right? Once you have experience, it's just easy to spot those. And people will shy away from that. And the person who doesn't, that's a person you may not want to work with, because then they know what you're up to. Now they're going to play a better hand than you are. And again, it comes down to the gazelle and the lion, because you may think you're the lion, but you're not. You're the gazelle, and the lion's going to get you.
Wow. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time, but we could go long if you can go long.
I can go long. I'm enjoying this.
I am too.
We had a little technical glitch. If you want to go a little bit extra to give the viewers,
that would be wonderful. I have 3 questions, especially that I wanted to ask. One is, about your book. How do people get it? And say the name of it, so that people.
So it's called Finding Fame: The Insider's Guide to the Entertainment Industry, and it's available Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, so forth. But I'm an Amazon.com fan myself, so I love Amazon. So I always just recommend people to go to Amazon. But it's also available at booksellers nationwide. But it's Finding Fame. My first name, last name comes right up, right there. So.
And I'm enjoying it very much, and so thank you. Also, I want to ask you about the funnel, digital marketing, because I think a lot of people want to know, well, geez, how do you do something like that? And so how do you capture that kind of result? What to make a funnel that's successful that quickly?
So we've been doing this now for 18 years, and we've invested a lot of invested a lot of money in myself personally in my education on marketing and so forth, because getting to surround myself with some amazing people. But it really boils down to whether you're in the entertainment industry, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever the product is that you're offering through a funnel. And for those of you not familiar with a funnel is a website, simple website. Its sole purpose is to get the person to get their information, right? So maybe you give away a free video, a free book, something that's, so a traditional website has all these different links. Person comes, they click on the links. Next thing you know, they're lost in, wherever, right? They bounce and they go someplace else. They're clicking on your Facebook, your Instagram. A funnel is designed for one thing and one thing only, to get the person to put their name, email, and phone number in it. But and that's the simple part. The complex part, and which is really not complex, is you need to know what the results they're looking for, and what is the pain that they're in. So many times when people will start like their online entrepreneurial journey, they're so excited about themselves. Like, hey, I am the number one at this. And they make the funnel about themselves, right? So as soon as and because they're following examples, they're following brands like a Tony Robbins, a Russell Brunson, or somebody that's a recognizable figure in their lives, not realizing you don't need to be that figure quite yet. You don't even need to have an audience, but what you need to be able to do is solve a problem and be able to speak into the listen of the person that has that problem. So many times people create a funnel, and I'm like, well, who's your customer base? Well, it could be anybody. Well, what do you mean anybody? There's a lot of anybody's out there. Do you help husbands? Do you help wives? Well, I help people in the service industry. Okay, great. What contractors, roofers, electricians, well, I can help them all. Well, no, who's your number one customer? If you had to go through all your customers, which customer have you served the most? Oh, I never thought about that. And then they'll say, well, I talked to 2 roofers, but I've helped like several electricians. Okay, great. That's your avatar. That's the avatar that can relate to you as an electrician. So what is it the problem you solve for that person, right? Maybe they don't know how to set up their social media. They need a market, whatever it may be, right? The what doesn't matter, but it's putting the problem and the solution, speaking into the listen of that person, and focusing on that very thin and narrow avatar. That's where you need to start. Like, you need to understand your business. So many times people go out and they'll hire companies to do this. You really need to sit down and and again, I will always recommend AI because it's great, but you can sit down, you can log into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm creating a funnel and I'm trying to figure out my avatar. You are a professional social media manager. What are the 10 questions I should be asking? Right? And then start from there. Like again, asking better questions, you get better answers, right? So people will go into ChatGPT and they'll say, well, write me a sales page for I sell electricians this. It's not going to be good. It's not going to speak into your avatar the right way. You have to really understand the pain points. How you understand the pain points, the best person to talk to about pain points is the person who didn't buy from you. Sending them out a survey saying, hey, you know what? I'd love to, I know we weren't able to connect. Maybe, maybe it was price, maybe whatever it may be, but I would love to still do like an hour consultation with you to kind of give you some direction. All I ask is just to help me also be able to serve more people in the future. And you'll find 10 people, 5 of them will say yes. And as you're talking to them, you can kind of find out what it was that was holding them back. And I can guarantee you 95% of the time, it wasn't finances. It wasn't because they had to talk to their wife. That wasn't the reason. That was the excuse they threw at you. It was because your presentation skills lacked. You weren't able to connect with them. So it's understanding your avatar, being able to create a funnel that speaks into their listen, helps them get a result for a problem, a pain that they're in. Think about when you go to Google, you go someplace, you're searching because I have a headache, right? So how do I cure a headache? In a healthy alternative way. I don't want to take Tylenol because I have issues with my liver. So that's a very specific avatar, somebody who doesn't like taking painkillers because they may have early signs of liver disease. So now you can create a diet around that, right? So now you're speaking into that very specific person's listen. You can do searches and you can see, hey, this amount of searches were done for that particular question. Oh, wow, over 100,000 people searched for that. Great, let me see who's number one on the search engine. I can, funnel hack them, right? Look at their copy, see what they're doing that works. Doesn't mean you copy them, but you can at least get a foundation. So again, entrepreneurship and being a model and actor, to me, they're like the same, like they really are. So, creating a funnel is just, and finding people with real results. There's so many people, and I hate use the word guru, but it's just like modeling and acting and entrepreneurship. There's so many people that are gurus. That's why I love, being able to work with you, people like Mo Rock, people like Bill Walsh, like people who really proven themselves at a very high level, and they're able to open up doors and snap their fingers and change your life in 30 seconds or less. And that's the one thing I've learned, like, working with Tony Robbins and people like that. Find the best person doing what it is you want to do and model what they're doing, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel. But, again, each business is a little bit different, but that's my best advice on starting a funnel.
It's incredible. I mean, it's so awesome. I so appreciate you, Michael, because you speak to what you've been able to accomplish. It's from the experience. It's not talk. But you just said a moment ago about all these gurus. Years ago, when the live event business, there was no internet. You had to come up with brochures and mailing costs and their overhead and renting a theater or a hotel or something.
Dan Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, you had to do all this stuff that once the internet came out, reduced cost everywhere, and so suddenly everyone became an expert and everyone became a guru. And it's a hard. The soup is so thick with so much of. There's some merit and then a lot of not merit that it's hard for people to ferret out the real from the not real, unless they look at those people who are producing results. And you are definitely one of those people who produces results, and that comes through. It oozes from you, Michael. It oozes from you. I love it. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you the other question, which is a question you just said, and is, do you have any pet projects on that you are excited about doing right now?
So working with Mo and so many incredible entrepreneurs, like one of our secrets to success was to go out and find incredible people that were not in our business, but what could we learn from them, right? Like sitting down with a Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, sold over 500 million copies. So somebody who created an empire around that, he probably knows a lot about the book publishing industry. So of course, when we wrote our book, we turned to him to become our publisher. So Mark Victor Hansen Publishing is our publisher. So as we were doing this, we were learning all these different things, meeting some incredible people. And like when you meet, it's just like the entertainment industry. Like when you get inside of a circle, you start meeting other people, right? They introduce you to their friends, you bring value, you bring results. And I was sitting down, we had the opportunity to work with Michael Gerber and so many amazing individuals. And so many times entrepreneurs would come up to me and they'd be like, oh, can you help me with this or that? And I'd be like, yeah, and I learned it from this person, that person. They were like, always, how did you meet these people? And I realized, I was like, wait a second. It was kind of like the entertainment industry. Like people always had all these questions about how to get into the industry the right way, how to avoid being taken advantage of. And that's like where the concept of our company came from. And I was like, wait a second, like it's all about being in a circle and we're working with all these people that are legends. So the project that I'm most excited about right now is called Legend Circle, and it's legendcircles.com. But it's a mastermind group. It's limited to 100 people, but it's the opportunity to spend a year working with some of the most incredible people in business, entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, and really learning the secrets that got them from where they are to where they want to be. So it's not specifically focused on, say, lead generations or funnels, but you learn the art of actually how to make these things work, right? So it's having the foundation. Yes, you have to create a funnel, but you know what? Creating a funnel means you hire somebody to do that. You yourself have to be the business owner, right? You can't, you have to, your employees, you can't keep telling them what time it is. You have to teach them how to learn how to tell time. So this is something for people who reach a certain level of success as an entrepreneur, speaker, business owner, coach, to be able to do weekly calls. We do them all on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You don't have to travel. Of course, we're going to have some live events, in Arizona and San Diego and Dubai. But it's an opportunity to meet with people who've really made such an impact on this world. And what's really great is we're partnering up with Sir Richard Branson's foundation. And for people who become a member of our Legend Circle, they actually, a portion of their membership fee actually goes. We're raising $1 million. We pledged $1 million over the next 2 years to not only Richard Branson's foundation, but a lot of other different foundations to really make an impact in the world, because it's all about creating a legacy. So it's not about becoming a legend. It's about you yourself as an entrepreneur creating a legacy. So I am so excited about it. Tonight, we're doing a call with my team with Dr. Joe Vitale. If you never had a chance to meet with him, he was in the movie The Secret. But he is like a little firecracker. He's just so full of energy, such a brilliant person to work with. And again, it's like when I was saying earlier, when I was sitting down, at Sardi's and hearing these stories about Marlon Brando, just being in the room with people like this and having proximity to them gives you such power and such golden nuggets, right? Because I can show you how to build a funnel, but there's so much more to it, right? It's understanding copywriting, colors, understanding the video. How do you hook story offers? How do you promote this, right? Running advertising, how do ads work? There's so many little nuances to this. So what's great about this is every week we get to learn from somebody who's the best at what they do, and you're getting that 1 or 2 golden nuggets, but it becomes a compounding effect where now it just keeps growing and growing and growing. You're creating a legacy, you're creating an unstoppable business, but you're leaving this world in a better place as a team, right? We all become a team, and it's not about pitching or selling your products to other people in the community. We actually have a marketplace where they can offer their services. And and the expectations is if I can help you, if there's no hard cost and it's just me getting on a call with you, I'm going to give you all the advice in the world, because it's a true mastermind. So it's not like one of those masterminds when you show up and then everyone's pitching each other and you're like, how did I wind up in this room? Because I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going to masterminds, and I'm just like, oh, I went to the first meeting and I didn't want to go back to the second meeting. So I was like, you know what? I went because I got to meet these legends. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to create a mastermind, I'm going to create it with all the legends, right? I'm going to put them all in a room together and learn from them and get some incredible people. So I'm super excited about that. And it's in the same genre of what we do. So it's literally what we've been doing for 18 years, and now being able to apply it to entrepreneurs and so forth. So super excited. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, that's exciting news, and how absolutely marvelous. What an opportunity for everyone. Michael, I hope that we do this again and again.
Yeah, I would love to.
I really enjoy being able to talk with you on the air and off the air, and bring value to the people and let them know what you're doing and the way that you're helping and serving people all around the world, and both within the community and outside of the community. So thank you so very much for that. I would like to also just offer you, if there's anything else on your heart that you'd like to share or say in closing, please, the floor is yours.
It was an honor being here today. I enjoyed it. For those of you not familiar, this was a live show, as you could see, but we got to spend some time in the green room before the show, and it was such a great conversation we had, getting to know each other and so forth. And I just want to tell people who are listening, never give up on your dreams. You never let anyone else hold you back. The person usually who's holding you back, I always tell them, ask them this: are you living your best life right now? Right? Every decision you've ever made, are you living your best life? Did anyone hold you back? Right? And the answer is usually, yeah, of course I'm living my best life. No one ever hold me back. Then all I ask you as a friend, as a family member, is allow me to live my best life. I know you love me and you just want to protect me, but allow me the same opportunity everyone in your life allowed you to make those decisions, to move forward, right? Obviously, if you're thinking of jumping off a building, that's a little bit different. But for being an entrepreneur, being a model, being an actor, I see so many people whose dreams are shattered because they allow somebody else to influence them. You live your best life. You trust your heart. Surround yourself with the best people in the world, people getting the results you want, and you become unstoppable. There's nothing that can stop you. Have a why, have a reason to give back. Like you saw me light up. It wasn't so much about being in the room for the legends. It was for the opportunity to pledge $1 million over the next 24 months to be able to make an impact in this world. And so it's like when you find that why, you find your way, and it just gets you so excited every day to be able to do something, to be able to just make a difference in this world. So, you're muted.
Thank you. That was so beautiful, is what I was saying, and I so heartfelt. And I encourage people to reach out to you. They can go to VIPigniteLive.com, correct?
Yep.
And reach you that way.
Yep, my email's right there. You just click on About Us, and my whole team's there. So anybody needs any help, any questions, I'm available.
Beautiful. I'm going to close out the show, Michael. I hope you hang around for a little bit, will you, please? And we'll be right with you in a few minutes. I've got something I've got to do, and then I'll be right with you. So thank you so much, everybody. Mr. Michael Fomkin, this is wonderful. Thank you for being here, sir. Well, thank you for being here and for watching the show. We have something I want to share with you that's coming up right now. It's actually coming up on the 30th of this month, and I'm going to show you a little video here. And the website right down below is there. It's a one-time opportunity that you can jump in on. And so go ahead, watch the video, and then go check out the information at the website.
What if you could improve your business with just one question? On January 30th, 4 legends of sales and business come together. Meet the masters. Rex Steven Sykes, master of mindset. Ben Gay III, the ultimate closer. Rick Sedler, luxury brand virtuoso. Danny Walsh, funnel building maestro. One night, 4 legends, unlimited potential. Ask your question and get it answered live. Sign up now. No replays, no repeats, just pure wisdom. January 30th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK. Reserve your spot now. One question can change everything.
Well, there you have it. Go click the link here, wealthdynamicsmastery.com. It's a one-time opportunity. Go and click that link and join us for that event. No replays. It's going to be a one-time thing on the 30th. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I also invite you to go to my YouTube channel. It's Create Your Best Life with Rex. Same name as the show. My YouTube channel. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you get updated with new shows. Like, comment, ask questions, and share. The more you share out the show, the more you reach other people. You can reach people that I could never reach, that Michael could never reach, that anyone could, So if you would, share the show and be part of the community of helping people help each other. I hope you enjoyed today. I sure have. This has been a delight for me, and I'll be seeing you soon. Next show, I have Kevin Trudeau on the 29th of this month. So Kevin Trudeau is going to come back to the show, and we'll see you that time too. So go ahead, share it out, and have a beautiful time. Remember, as I always say, if you consider something a problem, it's a problem. If you consider something a blessing, it's a blessing. So go ahead and celebrate everything. And with that, I'm Rex Sykes. You've been watching Michael Fomkin on Create Your Best Life with Rex.